Ellie Story, Chapter 8. Gypsy was not at the kennel the next day, but Cammy was. I tried to get him interested in a glorious game of I've got the ball when you don't, but he just lay with his head on his paws, watching me tolerantly. Then Jacob came out into the yard. "Ellie," he called. I've never heard such an urgency in his voice. I dropped the ball at once and ran to the gate so that he could let me out. We were obviously going to work, and work sounded more important than ever. Jacob hurried with me to the truck, and we drove. The tires made screeching sounds that I could hear above the wail of the siren when we turned the corners. I had to lie down flat, my claws digging into the floor of my cage to keep from sliding around. When the truck jerked to a stop, I could see people gathered in a parking lot. That wasn't unusual. People often came to watch Jacob and me work, but these people were more worried than I'd ever seen. One of them, a woman, was so afraid she couldn't stand up, and two people were holding her. Anxiety was rippling off Jacob, so strong it made the fur on my back stand up. Jacob left me in my cage and ran past me to talk to the people. I waited, whining a little, very softly. Something was wrong, very wrong. The only way to make it better was to go to work right away. We were in the parking lot next to a big building with glass doors. The frightened woman reached into a bag and took out a soft, floppy toy. It had long ears like a rabbit, and most of the fur had been rubbed off. "We've got them all locked down," somebody said. Jacob came to the door of my cage and opened it. He handed me the floppy rabbit to sniff. "Ellie, okay? Got it? I need you, Ellie. I need you to find Ellie." Another little girl like Charlotte, but different. She had her own smell, of course, all humans did. This one combined sweat and dirt and peanut butter and salt. Soap that smelled like honey, cookie crumbs. I leaped out onto the hard black ground and tried to sort out all the smells around me. The ground itself smelled bitter and somehow black, just like it looked. My feet had crossed it. There was a foul-smelling puddle of oil and a sharp stink of gasoline. Someone had spilled a cup of coffee. I moved away from those smells, concentrating. I was looking for a little girl. I didn't notice that I'd moved out in front of a moving car until the driver hit the brakes with a squeal. "Hey, what the?" I heard an angry voice say. Behind me, Jacob held up something in his hand. "Police dog," he said sharply. "Back your vehicle up." "Okay, sorry," the driver mumbled. But I wasn't paying attention to that. The car wasn't important. I'd found the track of the girl who'd held the soft rabbit, but her scent was mixed with other unfamiliar one. Strong, adult, male. I tracked them both, moving quickly, sure of myself. "She's got it," I heard Jacob call. Then the smell vanished right where a car sat in the parking lot. The two people I'd been following had gone. They must have driven away in a different car, and then this one had pulled in to take its place. I turned back to show Jacob, but he wasn't happy, I could tell. Frustration and disappointment rose off him like a cloud. I cringed a little. Hadn't I done the work right? He had always been happy before. "Okay, good girl, Ellie, good dog." He pulled a rubber ring out of his pocket. But he played with me for only a minute or two, and I could tell that he was thinking about something else. Jacob had called me a good dog, but I didn't feel like one. He wasn't happy. The work wasn't right, or maybe it wasn't done. "We've tracked her to here," Jacob told the man in a suit. "It looks like she got into a vehicle and left. Do we have surveillance on the parking lot?" "We're checking now. If it is who we think it is, though, the car is stolen," the man answered. "Where would he take her? If it's him, where would he go?" Jacob asked. The man in the suit turned his head, squinting at the green hills we could see in the distance. "Topanga Canyon or Will Rogers State Park." "We'll head up that way," Jacob said. "See if we can pick up anything." I was startled when Jacob put me in the front seat of the truck. He'd never let me be a front seat dog before. But he wasn't doing it because he was in a good mood, I could tell. He was still tense, so I stayed focused as he started up the car. We passed by another car with 2 terriers in the back seat of a station wagon, and they yipped at me out of pure jealousy because I was in the front and they weren't. I ignored them. Jacob and I drove out of the parking lot, and he held the soft stuffed rabbit out to me. I sniffed it obediently, but I was confused. Hadn't I already done this? Didn't I do it right? Okay, girl, Jacob said. I know this is going to sound strange, but I want you to find. I turned and stared at him in bewilderment. Find? In the truck? Jacob drove slowly, quickly glancing at me and then returning his eyes to the road. I'd been told to find, but I didn't know how. I couldn't put my nose to the ground and hunt for the little girl's smell on that soft rabbit, but I could. I lifted my nose to the window. Smells were rushing past so quickly, it was hard to sort them out. Good girl, Jacob Price. Find the girl. My nose was still filled with the smell of the girl from the toy. Then a breeze brought me that same smell from outside the window, still entwined with a man's. I looked over at Jacob. Good girl, he said, stepping harder on the brakes. Behind us, cars honked. Got it, girl? He asked intently, but the smell had gone. That's okay, Ellie. Good girl, Jacob said and let the truck ease forward. I understood now. We were working from inside the truck. Instead of my legs moving over the ground hunting a smell, the truck was doing the moving for me. I put my nose back to the window. Hot asphalt, fumes from cars, a whiff of something disgusting and delicious from an overflowing trash can, a greasy and salty smell of fried chicken from a restaurant, but none of those are right. I was straining, rejecting any and everything except the smell from the toy. I felt the truck tilt as we headed uphill. Disappointment was rising from Jacob. I could feel it. I think we've lost her, he muttered. Nothing. Ellie? At my name, I turned and looked at him, and then I went back to my work. The smells were changing. A sharp, tangy smell from the pine trees. Warm earth, dry grass, but no little girl. Not the one I was supposed to find. Unit 8 Kilo 6. What's your 20? The radio squawked. 8 Kilo 6, we are proceeding up Amplify. Any luck? We had something on Sunset, nothing since. Roger that. I barked. I didn't normally bark when I caught a scent, but we were working from the truck and Jacob was so worried none of this was normal. When the smell rushed in through Jacob's window, filling the cab of the truck, I couldn't hold back. My tail thumped against the seat. This was it. I'd found the smell again. And the girl and the man, the girls and the man's together. The truck slowed. I kept my nose pointed to the smell. Jacob eased to a stop. Okay, which way? Here, Ellie, he asked. I climbed across the seat and into his lap, shoving my face out his window. Left on Capri, Jacob shouted, his voice sharp with excitement. A few minutes later, the truck started to bump. We're on the fire road, Jacob yelled. I was alert, focused, dead ahead while Jacob wrestled with the truck, trying to keep it on the narrow road. He pushed me back into the other seat away from the smell. I whined a little in frustration. Sorry, girl. I have to drive, Jacob muttered. Hold on, just hold on. Suddenly, the truck thumped to a stop facing a yellow gate. Be advised, we need the fire department up here, Jacob said urgently. There's a gate. 10-4, cracked the voice from the radio. Jacob pushed his door open hard and we both jumped out. A red car was parked on one side of the rough dirt road and I ran over to it. My ears were up. My nose was straining. Everything in me was on alert. Jacob had his gun out. We've got a red Toyota Camry, empty. Ellie says it belongs to our man, Jacob said shortly. Then he led me around to the back of the car, watching me closely. No indication anyone is in the trunk of the car, he said. Roger that, said the radio voice. The smell from the car wasn't as strong as what was coming from the breeze. Below us, through the trees, there was a canyon, and that was where we should go. That was where the girl was, the girl who needed to be found. A steep road on the other side of the yellow gate held at the man's smell. His was stronger, smudged into the dust of the road. Hers was more delicate, drifting on the air. He'd carried her. Be advised, subject took the road down to the camp. Jacob said, he's on foot. 8 Kilo 6, hold and wait for backup. Jacob didn't seem to be paying any attention to the voices that came out of his walkie-talkie. Ellie, he said to me, putting his gun back on his belt, let's go find the girl.